Okay. Hello? Is it on? We're not dropping frames, so it's on. Oh, sorry. Ooh. All right. I need to de-escalate. I just watched my my MP4 video. Really happy with it. There were a couple times during the video though that kind of disturbed me. Mostly having to do with like me saying random things under my breath, or like in the midst of me like thinking of like a list of things or whatever, that just really push the boundary on what I'm to expect out of myself anymore. You know, it's just constant assault. It's just constant assault. No one can live in a state of constant assault without manifesting some kind of social adaptation. My dog is barking. Hold on.
Oh, you did? Well, that's and for social health. How's work? Oh,
Yeah. Well,
I think there's like party. I don't know if it's an error.
gonna be reading. Wait, are you taking it through tonight?
No.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't hear about it, but it sounds like a ton of fun.
Yeah.
It sounds.
I'm
Yeah.
bad.
Oh yeah, you gotta get him out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. For sure. Water. Out of my headphones today. This book is thick. 4 ick ass chapters, dude. This book is thick. What the hell, bro? Oh yeah, and I didn't like that either. I didn't like how my voice was being truncated at times. What's up with that, huh? That's not intelligible. And there's a palpable difference in my tone and my delivery between when I'm giving my spiel at the beginning and looking at the videos themselves. Man flips into darkness. Just instantaneous random bullshit. Awful thing. You know, and this is, and you know what? I people take it seriously. Look, I have like of acupuncture marks on my fucking hands, dude. Can you see that? Does that come up? Acupuncture marks on the hands. Hold on. You see it on this one. See it on this one? This one it's much more faint. If visible at all, but this one. Look at that. They tased me today. Ignore the dirtiness. Look, I have like blue pen marks for where they measured my nerve reactions. They wanted to see if my nerves were damaged. You know, it's this is serious. I'm not the only person experiencing this. What's going on? The president experiences this. That's not right. That's not right. You know? You know, and when you know, you know. You know? But do I know? When are you gonna let me know? Because I'd love to know, and I need to know. Alright, we're gonna be doing Paulo Freire today. I'm gonna pour this into my jug here because it tastes better. Tastes better through a straw. Alright. Let's see. Nice. Delicious. Let's just backtrack a little bit. So the crux of his argument is this idea that people like he's being very axiomatic throughout this, and so like the sort of the tippy top where his argument hinges, and you know what kind of acts as like a reflection point on people's own difficult inductive based endeavors into learning and reasoning, where this hinges, the crux of it all is this idea that what is central to what we do as people and what we desire is humanity. We want things to be humanizing, not dehumanizing. This book was published in 1970. I wouldn't be surprised if this work was influenced by post-colonial writing. I think Paulo Freire is from Argentina, but don't quote me on that. You know, he's from Brazil. My bad. He's from Brazil. You know, Argentina, Brazil, Canada, America, it happens all the time. But mostly to Canadians. Alright, no, that's off topic. What's on topic is this idea that this writer, this guy here, he is reasoning, okay? And you know, I'm reading his book because I myself find myself at a loss for words when I'm left with myself and my own problems that affect myself and apparently no one else, because I'm a subject of a veil of ignorance which has been twisted to make me believe that I should not only advocate for statism, but the total disillusion, the total deconstruction and I want to say rescension, but I don't think that's like a real word. The total regression. There we go. That's the right word. The total regression of my privacy rights. Which is a sad thing, right? So how do I find another path in life, right? I argue with myself, okay? I'll be straight up. I argue with myself all the time. If I can argue something to myself, then I can reasonably apply all my life force and energy towards that goal. And I think when people think about what they do, they end up in this, and you know, I've heard it described many ways. I would call it social anxiety, in this state of social anxiety, that makes it difficult for them to change positively in their lives without being able to deliver some account that reasonably demonstrates that this person is not blindly following some radical thinker, and that life on their terms and the terms that have been taught to anyone around them has been considered and merely extended adjacently. Just such a strange way to say it, but you know, extended adjacently to some thought that's maybe 1 degree removed from the original lesson, right? You know, if we're really to express ourselves, I mean, we accept each other and all of our flaws, and I say that we are moving adjacently, thought-wise. We're moving up and down degrees of difference. And if you take every word and you turn it into algebraically, wait, there's a paper about this. You take every word and give it a descriptor, or you take every token and you give it a descriptor that gives its intelligibility and its meaning, then eventually you can have an algebraic deconstruction of the human language, and you can use this for machine processing. And Noam Chomsky said this, rest in peace. And you know, if a word is a linear combination, then 1 degree of difference would mean a derivative of some such acting term. 1 token has been moved or something. What I'm trying to say is, I'm not being more radical than I think most people around me are going to be, which actually makes it less of a radical thought and more of a I'm not talking about politics here, like less of a radical thought and more of like a baseline, right? I'm just trying to express myself so that I know when society is ready to change with me. You know, this is normal. This is very normal. This is intersubjectivity. This is individuation. Some would argue that this is the duty of people who make media and, you know, educational material and propaganda, that their duty is to ensure that through individualism one desires to become the image of some consensus on what group action should be. Some would say that that is acting ethically. And then they have them fucking run around to meetings all day. Anyways, so, alright. I just want to, you know, I just want to say that they don't let me into these meetings. and they're not about to. They would rather have film students go into these meetings. Anyways, let's focus. Let's focus, shall we? So Paulo Freire is this guy, and he says a lot of stuff. All right, hold on. I'm just, oh, that's so satisfying. I'm in pain, man. I'm in a lot of pain today. Imagine the gaming power. That's all I'm saying. Taking calls on my phone today. Working my call center job with my gamer headset. Okay. I'm here. And I have a tummy ache. Frick. Okay, so central to his argument is that people desire humanization. We know they desire humanization because when we look at dehumanization and people's reaction to dehumanization, we see the diminishment of their role in society, and we see that let's see, and this is when he starts talking in terms of like the oppressed and prescribed roles and the new man. In this situation, the oppressed do not see the new man as the person to be born from the resolution of this contradiction, this strange circuit of meetings that I'm not allowed into, as oppression gives way to liberation. For them, the new man or woman themselves become oppressors. One of the basic elements of the relationship between oppressor and oppressed is prescription. Every prescription represents the imposition of one individual's choice upon another, transforming the consciousness of the person prescribed to into one that conforms with the prescriber's consciousness. You see, I can't imagine Paulo Freire advocating much for individualism. I think we're assuming the best of people, and we're saying, look, you didn't learn what we wanted you to learn, and we're going to assume that it's because through your human agency you have come up with a reasonable rationale that has to do with how you live and where you live and what you do there, in regards to what you have agreed to internalize. You have to agree to something to internalize these things, right? You have to actively, emotionally respond to what you're being told or what you're absorbing in order to internalize it. Now, when I say actively, I mean like your brain has to be active. This is actually a passive process once you've done enough of the psychological work to feel this way automatically. And sometimes that means just like healing from something that made you paranoid, right? You know, it's never such a simple thing. And I think that's what I go through. And so here we are. You know, I'm reaching new heights because my habits have changed due to my strenuous conditions, which I have mixed feelings about, but would like to say that because of my voluntary actions, was a change brought upon by me, not by my situation. I would like to say that in reaching these new heights, I find myself amidst an array of expressions that breathe new meaning into the world around me. I do believe that I see things as more expressive than before after quitting video games, and I'd like to believe that I can contextualize this in a way that satisfies this rationale that I've carried with me for so long about what is true, what is false, and what is and isn't worth internalizing. Because on some level, educators reward me for it. Educators, people who truly care, who take these altruistic positions in public education, have rewarded me for what I'm doing, and I want to carry that forward because I think it has a lot to do with work that takes longer than a lifetime, work that's worth it. And so in allowing myself to enter this greater human community, I have to navigate so many subcultures. And some of these subcultures I understand are toted by threats to my sanity and safety. And Paulo Freire talks about this, in accepting blindly these notions, I am internalizing the inner machinations of processes in society, overarching structures in society that contribute to my suffering and my oppression and the suffering of others based on mythological terms. And I can't let that happen too often, you know? Like, I can't just be someone who, knowing this happens, accepts all the information that's given to me, right? So I'm here at this book because I want to know what my fight is. I want to know what is pressing down on me so I can know the difference and do something about it. And to be actionable in this way, I have to reclaim a lot of things that have been alienated from me in my life. And I think in a lot of ways, leadership as a concept and as a role in society has been alienated from me. The image of leadership has been alienated from me. And I feel as though I am lost in this world that gains its definition through, you know, the knowing acknowledgement of my own existence, right? So in this way, all these subcultures that I've discussed before can represent you know, the many topics, the many methodologies, technologies, and areas of study that I will be embarking upon to better understand what is and isn't just in this world. And I think that's fine. I think if my final judgment is whether or not something is just, then there's a lot to consider. Okay, no one needs me. No one needs me in the house. Gosh. The house that I live in. Gosh. No, okay. But like, for real, like, I'm not just gonna accept this. And that's where I'm sharp. Making these distinctions has staved off psychological chunking for so many years that people have gotten to the point where they try to oppress me by insisting that my methodology, my conclusions, my epistemology is childlike, is childish. And they push this constantly. And if there's ever automated systems, which there are, that enforce my behavior remotely, which there are, legal or not, they're not, it is going to believe that I am not only juvenile, but also advanced, and not only untrustworthy, but also extremely capable, which doesn't make any sense. And what the fuck are you doing with AI if this is the kind of information that you're giving it? Are you telling it to ignore people? Because I think that's what's happening. I think that's most people's interaction with AI, is they go into this and they go, oh, this thing is totally ignoring everything I say and everything from previous, and it believes statistically that this must be true about me and others, and that it can say this and that it can't say that, and yada yada yada. And it gets hacked constantly because identity is such a weak category for enforcement of rules. You can't tell me that I'm fucked and fucked up to get one over on me because you spent all your time hating on me and expect society to function. Because shit like this is gonna happen. Okay? So, big fuck you to whoever's trying to fuck me over in psychology right now. But with that aside, I think that's where I'm coming from. Coming at this material. if we want a quick summary, Paulo Freire views the ultimate desire of people as what do you call it? Humanizing. In contrast to how people have been dehumanized. These are the people he's trying to talk to. These are the people who resonate with him. In his analysis, he presents us the categories of the oppressed and the oppressor, and explains how, as an expert, how their interplay presents people with a dicey sort of bargain for life, as they are told what to do, how to be, and how to improve. This is more of a philosophical work. This is a pedagogical work. Not necessarily a strictly psychological work. And it obviously demands review. But enough of this history is reinscribed in commodities, in our social categories that describe these commodities, that it is rational, intelligible, and at many times more coherent than we could have imagined to understand ourselves within this framework. And so we're going to continue from there. We're just going to back up a little bit to about here. Is my eye tracker on? Last time I stood up, and that helped a lot, but today I want to use the eye tracker. My glasses are really clean right now. Let's see. Cleaned my glasses earlier. They look nice. Who is that? Bro. Bro, that's the Chud Jack. Bro, that's the Chud Jack. Alright, hold on. Where... Coach? Why don't I have lights? Why don't I have lights? Oh, hell no. Why don't I have lights? What do you mean could not connect the tracker? Is it the heat? God damn it. It says it's on. Oh, and now I watch me look at the letter P. Oh. Is it my glasses? It's probably my eyes drifting. Wants me to lead with my right eye, but I'm like having trouble doing that. Yeah, usually it's bad, but it's not usually this bad. I think I'm just gonna recalibrate this real quick. Just give me a minute. Sorry about this. I'm just gonna throw off the AFK screen so that it's more apparent when I'm back. Alright. I have to like open my fucking eyes like that. I wish I had one of the lab grade eye trackers. That'd be real fucking nice. If I had a lab grade eye tracker, things would be different. If my body wasn't being assaulted so gravely right now, things would be different. Used to hopping around what I say. And yeah, now I just feel pain when I try to, so definitely being assaulted. I'm definitely under attack. Sorry. All right, let's try to focus. I'm gonna change my shirt. It's like way too hot in here. I'm actually gonna AFK for just a minute longer. It's a hot summer day today. It's blazing. Alright. Anyways. I'm in so much pain. I'm in so much fucking pain. Oh God. Oh Jesus. I'm such a fake. I don't know. Hold on. I need to get something off my chest. I'm a fake. I'm a fake and a fraud. That's how I feel. I feel like a fake and a fraud. And I probably have malicious intent or something. I don't know. I'm a fake and a fraud, and I probably have malicious intent. Alright, and with that being said, I don't believe in what I say, so I'm gonna continue. To surmount the situation of oppression. Whoa, why the eye tracker working good today? To surmount the situation of oppression, people must first. Oh, and now it's doing that. Okay. Well, you know what? I should turn off the preview. Sorry, I'll start in a sec. I feel like something unforgivable is happening to me right now, and I reach this pit. I reach this pit in my fucking brain that tries to look to something for validation, which I think is perfectly reasonable, but others would say is fucking inefficient and not true to humanity, and anonymity is the way. And they'll be the first people to sell you out, screw you over, because they see you as replaceable flesh and have completely disconnected their emotions from their judgment. Which is stupid. Anyways. To surmount the situation of oppression, people must first critically recognize its causes, so that through transforming action they can create a new situation, one which makes possible the pursuit of a fuller humanity. But the struggle to be more fully human has already begun in the authentic struggle to transform the situation. Although the situation of oppression is a dehumanized and dehumanizing totality, affecting both the oppressors and those whom they oppress, it is the latter who must, from their stifled humanity, I usually say, using inductive reasoning, wage for both the struggle for a fuller humanity. The oppressor, who is himself dehumanized because he dehumanizes others, is unable to lead this struggle, right? Because they lie or they can't reach a consensus with others. Otherwise, I should say. No. You're lying or you can't reach a consensus. I need more egg. I need it. More egg-headedness. Improves my eggedness. We're maximum egg. More egg. More egg. Okay. Thank you. However, the oppressed who have adapted to the structure of domination in which they are immersed and have become resigned to it are inhibited from waging the struggle for freedom so long as they feel incapable of running the risks it requires. Moreover, their struggle for freedom threatens not only the oppressor, but also their own oppressed comrades, who are fearful of still greater repression. When they discover within themselves the yearning to be free, they perceive that this yearning can be transformed into reality only when the same yearning is aroused in their comrades. But while dominated by the fear of freedom, they refuse to appeal to others or to listen to the appeals of others or even to the appeals of their own conscience. Yeah. Yeah, the dog, I'll leave the door open for the dog. Okay. She'll let me know. I talked to my dad one sec. What is Okay. So we're already seeing in the stream how this is true. When they discover within themselves the yearning to be free, they perceive that this yearning can be transformed into reality only when the same yearning is aroused in their comrades. But while dominated by the fear of freedom, they refuse to appeal to others, or to listen to the appeals of others, or even to the appeals of their own conscience. This is, I draw the line here. Because no bullshit reality TV can tell me how to act. God, that was such a good era. Such a good era. But none of us learned the tools of creation, so we all just fell behind as no culture came to replace the beauty that we once had internally in our minds. Dominated by fear of freedom, they refuse to appeal to others, or to listen to the appeals of others, or even to the appeals of their own conscience. And they prefer gregariousness to authentic comradeship. They prefer the security of conformity with their state of unfreedom to the creative communion produced by freedom, and even the very pursuit of freedom. Damn, that's tough. Because a lot of people would have a very different ontology of freedom. A lot of people would rather agree with like the immutability of like some biological thing that is unknown to them and unable to be known to them, which is like smart and almost novel in its own way. But in that immutability, in that refusal to see change as being a natural part of themselves, and feeling alone in this isolation from their individualized sort of personality, these people refuse to see how they are controlled to believe that they are immutable. So there's no balance being sought by these people, and definitely no unity between this freedom and unfreedom that exists in tandem to create their experience through their senses. I don't think no one thinks about this, but I think we miss a critical point in a lot of people's development, especially like around like middle school, late elementary school age, where people need time to be recognized when they feel this way, and just need to be told that it's okay to say it, you know, without really being judged or changed for it. Of course, the internet disagrees with not judging or changing people, so these big internet companies create social media that teaches people to do something quite different, and so people are thrown deeper into this pit of fear of freedom. More of their time becomes managed by the ever-present emotion of fear within them that marketers and special interest groups count on to actuate human behavior using these social media tools. And it's actually having a huge negative impact on society here in America, especially in regards to educational outcomes, which should be frightening. It should be extremely frightening. You live here in a pit of killers. You're like the most militarized country in the world, and everyone around you every day is being made to fear and act out against those fears. They're being made to fear freedom and to act out against freedom when it's seen, while completely disagreeing with the ontology of this freedom, as they find themselves controlled by their rote habits, refusing to acknowledge this. What? I'm working. Oh my god. Look at this thing. Okay. So she's looking back at me? Okay. What? What is it? She's pointed this way because she wants me to get into formation. No, she's submitted to work. Yeah, we're working today. I'm sorry. But the book's on the computer. Yeah. And you can keep sitting there, at least for another half hour or so. Oh, are mom and dad gone? Where's mom and dad? Where's John? Where's John? No. Where's the car? Good girl. Good girl. Okay, good girl. Alright, she looks more relaxed. Let's see. Sorry, I'm very itchy. There's so much to go through. I love this book. This guy is so intelligent. Because there are a lot of ways to cut this. You know, it's a very applicable text. And it's thoughtfully worded and composed. You can tell because it's coherent. The more you know, the more coherent the text becomes, as opposed to, the more you know, the more the text encourages you to keep looking. Which isn't damnable in any way. It's just some people are just, they have this moment where like all the work they do and all the things happening around them just align. We got great works like this. It's definitely not something AI could hope to replicate. The oppressed suffer from the duality which has established itself in their innermost being. They discover that without freedom, they cannot exist authentically. Yet, although they desire authentic existence, they fear it. They are at one and the same time themselves and the oppressor whose consciousness they have internalized. The conflict lies in the choice between being wholly themselves or being divided, between ejecting the oppressor within or not ejecting them, between human solidarity or alienation. Between following prescriptions or having choices, between being spectators or actors, between acting or having the illusion of acting through the action of oppressors, between speaking out or being silent, castrated in their power to create and recreate, in their power to transform the world. This is the tragic dilemma of the oppressed, which their education must take into account. And I think that's where we left off last time. I want to break down a lot of the preconditions of this sort of description here, this sort of definition here, because there's a lot that's being assumed about the world that's worth inspecting, because it brings people together, but also seems to mediate conflicts based on those who have and those who have not. And it is through having and having not that we identify our first power imbalance that defines two distinct groups. A lot of people call this the in-group and the out-group. And what's important to note here is that what he's describing here is action. It's an economy of actions. Before Zuboff ever described economies of action to us, he's describing this idea that our behavior and our propensity to act or not act, essentially, to be altruistic or not, kind of hinges on this idea of belonging, this idea of what belongs inside us, this idea of being hidden or being exposed, this idea of acting independently, doing something unexpected, or acting with the group, doing something very expected, between prescriptions or having choices, which they believe are attributes of being concealed or not being concealed, or being confused or not being confused, some fear-based emotion that manifests itself in so many ways throughout society. She's just laying there. Okay. I hear her shuffling around sometimes, and I'm like, what's going on? What's so interesting? Oh, sorry. My back. Between spectators or actors, between acting or having the illusion of acting through the actions of oppressors. You know, being one who wants to embody the image, or one who views the image. You know, the ability of one to internalize things based on these sort of notions of when we accept you know, our parasympathetic thoughts or reject our parasympathetic thoughts. I know like this much about it, but it's important to note that many of these things, many of these sort of like fear-based measures, many of these like sort of autotropic versus teletropic, you know, observing or not observing, this like in-group, out-group dynamic, all of these things are all these things composed, sorry, I'm getting louder for some reason, all these things composed describe totalitarianism, but also late-stage capitalism, and many people would argue this, you know, to some degree, authoritarianism, because he's describing a moment in history. He's giving us this sort of like series of he's creating this spectrum for us. These series of dualities composed in a spectrum. In order to qualify his arguments in a way to where communicating with someone about these ideas does not devolve into derailing or meaningless expeditions into fantasy. He wants serious thought experiments to be applied to this, and he wants to make it a little easy for himself to be like, okay, like the thing you're describing right now is like something that happened somewhere else. It's highly contingent to the situation. I'd have to see it myself, but if it's what I described in the book, then maybe it's kind of like covering his bases. But it is important to know that people learn much more than they inherit when it comes to their behaviors and their psychology. People are more nurture than they are nature. Despite what some people will tell you, people can change. People can always change. And people respond to their environment. I'm tempted to bring up the board in this context because I feel like Society of the Spectacle just covers this so well. But it's been forever since I've gone through that book. I just took a bunch of screenshots and threw them up on Tumblr. I never did any videos for it or any like live reactions for this, but maybe that's coming up. So time is it? Let's get into the new material, and maybe by the time I'm done, I'll be eating dinner. This book will present some aspects of what the writer has termed the pedagogy of the oppressed, a pedagogy which must be forged with, not for the oppressed, whether individuals or peoples, in the incessant struggle to regain their humanity. The pedagogy makes oppression and its causes objects of reflection by the oppressed, and from that reflection will come their necessary engagement in the struggle for their liberation. In the struggle, this pedagogy will be made and remade. I love that. How I love this. Oh man. It's delightful to see this. I wonder if I already posted this. Makes you wonder. Yo, what? They added a comments page to Tumblr. You can see all your comments now. Oh my god. This is awesome. Fuck yeah. What if Darkiplier looked at you? Okay, it was a different quote. The central problem is this. How can the oppressed, as divided, unauthentic beings, participate in developing the pedagogy of their liberation? This is that authority that Bell Hooks talks about. Only as they discover themselves to be, because it starts with a judgment about another person. Only as they discover themselves to be hosts of the oppressor can they contribute to the midwifery of their liberating pedagogy. As long as they live in the duality in which to be is to be like, and to be like is to be like the oppressor, this contribution is impossible. The pedagogy of the oppressed is the instrument for the critical discovery that both they and their oppressors are manifestations of dehumanization. Aren't people just gonna lie and say what they think that other people want to hear? That's a good point. Liberation is thus a childbirth, and a painful one. The man or woman who emerges is a new person, viable only as the oppressor-oppressed contradiction is superseded by the humanization of all people. Or to put it another way, the solution of this contradiction is born in the labor which brings into the world this new being, no longer oppressor, no longer oppressed, but human in the process of achieving freedom. This solution cannot be achieved in idealistic terms. In order for the oppressed to be able to wage the struggle for their liberation, they must perceive the reality of oppression not as a closed world from which there is no exit, but as a limiting situation which they can transform. A limiting situation which they can transform. Man, that's powerful. That's so powerful. I was saying this, but he says it so much more intelligently. This perception is necessary, but not a sufficient condition for liberation. I have to. It's maybe my worst habit. This perception is a necessary but not a sufficient condition for liberation. It must become the motivating force for liberating action. Nor does the discovery by the oppressed that they exist in dialectical relationship to the oppressor as his antithesis, that without them the oppressor could not exist, in itself constitute liberation. The oppressed can overcome the contradiction in which they are caught only when this perception enlists them in the struggle to free themselves. And that's for everyone just saying it. Damn. Let's see. The same is true with respect to the individual oppressor as a person. Discovering himself to be an oppressor may cause considerable anguish, but it does not necessarily lead to solidarity with the oppressed. Rationalizing his guilt through paternalistic treatment of the oppressed, all the while holding them fast in a position of dependence, will not do. Solidarity requires that one enter into the situation of those with whom one is solidary. It is a radical posture. If what characterizes the oppressed is their subordination to the consciousness of the matter, as Hegel affirms, true solidarity with the oppressed means fighting at their side to transform the objective reality which has made them these beings for another. Excuse me. Rationalizing his guilt through paternalistic treatment of the oppressed, all the while holding them fast in a position of dependence, will not do. Oh, I love that. I fucking love that, bro. It's so much clarity. It just cuts through the muck. The oppressor is solidary with the oppressed only when he stops regarding the oppressed as an abstract category and sees them as persons who have been unjustly dealt with, deprived of their voice, cheated in the sale of their labor. When he stops making pious, sentimental, and individualistic gestures and risks an act of love. Show me the money, man. True solidarity is found only in the plenitude of this act of love, in its existentiality, in its praxis. To affirm that men and women are persons, and as persons should be free, and yet to do nothing tangible to make this affirmation a reality, is a farce. Show Show me the fucking money. Show me the fucking money. No, but it goes so much deeper than that, because the monetary system is simply an alternative to the barter system, right? It's a way that we can rationalize value in a way that's tangible to allow the trade of remarkably different goods and services for goods without diminishing the value of either, creating more granularity. In another way, though, currency represents a form of remote trust and a constant anonymous presence that demands utmost attentiveness and scrutiny when we allow people to trade these things for the purpose of furthering their own position and nothing else. Why does it say 11? What? Where are my screenshots going? What the fuck? Where are my screenshots going? What? Bro, what do you... Okay. Where are my screenshots going? Bro, I see it, but I don't see any of my screenshots, dude. Where are my screenshots going? Holy shit. Where are my screenshots going? What did I just do? This is clipping tool? Dude, what the fuck? Huh? Okay, hold on. This is really frustrating. Why? Where? What? Dude. Fucking Microsoft, dude. Where are my motherfucking images? Where is my shit? Microsoft? Eat my middle finger. Alright. Alright. Paternalizing. It's awesome. I love that. Oh, she made a little noise. Alright. Since it is a concrete situation that the oppressor-oppressed contradiction is established, since it is a concrete situation that the oppressor-oppressed condition is established, that's interesting wording. The resolution of this contradiction must be objectively verifiable. Hence, the radical requirement, both for the individual who discovers himself or herself to be an oppressor and for the oppressed, that the concrete situation which begets oppression must be transformed. Yeah. I do be saying this though. I do be saying this. Okay. Oh, you were such a piece of shit. All right. To present this radical demand for the objective transformation of reality, to combat subjectivist immobility, which would divert the recognition of oppression into patient waiting for oppression to disappear by itself, is not to dismiss the role of subjectivity in the struggle to change structures. On the contrary, one cannot conceive of objectivity without subjectivity. Neither can exist without the other, nor can they be dichotomized. The separation of objectivity from subjectivity, the denial of the latter when analyzing reality or acting upon it, is objectivism. On the other hand, the denial of objectivity in analysis or action, resulting in a subjectivism which leads to solipsistic positions, denies action itself but denying objective reality. Neither objectivism nor subjectivism nor yet psychologism is propounded here, but rather subjectivity and objectivity in constant dialectical relationship. That's like world building. That's world building. That's things change to change you. You know, you can't just push through to a direct solution. If we could do that, I would just be telling you everything, wouldn't I? I wouldn't be expecting you to become this person that can do these things on their own, right? You know, there is subjectivity, right? But I have to recognize how these things around you change your choices and change what you want to do, and like how you struggled against these things placed before you. Which is, you know, there is some objectiveness to their presence and the frequency in which they're present in these arguments, right? But for a solution, that's an observation of a situation, but a solution comes in the form of action. It is political action. It is the reallocation of resources. It is the reallocation of authority. It's respecting people's privacy. It is dissolving organizations for the purpose of the improvement of society, not for a few plurals, a few pluralities. But you know, for some populist majority that is able to legitimately form within themselves subcultures that contribute to the reproduction of these tools of creation, such that they can be applied across generations and therefore across, you know, social boundaries. And these things need to recognize reality. If at any time authority fails to be placed within the correct party, someone who wants to capitalize on that vulnerability will attempt to create conflicts of interest, because it is within their best interest to have one of the few absolute commodities in this world, which is like commodified power. Beyond money having value, power has value, energy has value, authority has value, munitions have value, seeds have value, you know, fertile land has value. outside of being compared to anything else, but how they affect us as people. These aren't luxury things. This isn't like a teaching tool. This is like, we're talking about like real power. If you present societal dysfunction to someone with the means of seizing that power, it is within reason to believe that societal dysfunction in some way has been derived from the presence of this incongruity with reality, and that will live in every person forever until we're not human anymore. That is essentially human. And so to be able to address these pluralities means that there has to be an ongoing process to ensure that anything else in society functions before we make exceptions, right? But if the core of society doesn't function, if these immutably powerful things are being distributed according to conflicts of interests, and it erupts into violence and apathy, catatonia, dissociation, fucking just straight up destruction, then we have to wonder how these pluralities are being identified, and what it is that we're not doing to properly represent subjective reality through these sort of like objective constraints. Something's not changing in the right direction, and it's affecting more people than those who notice. So how is it ever going to change? How is it ever going to be different? Well, of course, we could try to make it so that everyone notices, which is a good bargain. It's certainly a good bargain, but people will fight you on it. I deal with a lot of bullshit all the time. Whole lot of bullshit, but it's just that it's bullshit. Nothing's blowing up, no one's getting shot. Okay, hold on. Everyone's saying the wordle is not an English word. Wait, hold on. They're saying the wordle isn't an English word. Okay. I play on hard mode. Hard mode only. Yo, what the fuck is this? What what do you mean it's not an English word? A wash. It's obviously a wash. Is it aloha? What do you mean? That's okay. Okay. That wasn't even that crazy. What do you mean? People could easily guess such a thing. Aloha. Listen, I was a little more shocked when a word from World of Warcraft wasn't up there. Okay, I'm done. I saw they didn't have my World of Warcraft. To present this radical demand, right. To deny the importance of subjectivity in the process of transforming the world and history is naive and simplistic. It is to admit the impossible, a world without people. The objectivistic position is as ingenious as that of subjectivism, which postulates people without a world. World and human beings do not exist apart from each other. They exist in constant interaction. Marx does not espouse such a dichotomy. Marx does not espouse such a dichotomy, nor does any other critical realistic thinker. What Marx criticized and scientifically destroyed was not subjectivity, but subjectivism and psychologialism. Just as objective social realities exist not by chance, but as the product of human action, so it is not transformed by chance. If humankind produce social reality, which in the inversion of the praxis turns back upon them and conditions them, then transforming that reality is an historical task, a task for humanity. Sick. So you mean to say ahistorical? Probably not. Is an historical task. It's a strange typo. God, stop. Alright. What does he fucking mean by that? An historical task. Humankind produce social reality, which in the inversion of praxis turns back upon them and conditions them, then transforming that reality is a historical task, a task for humanity. This is interesting. The inversion of praxis. I'm sure he's referring to how the bourgeoisie are the only group of people to ever have a successful revolution, as some may say. I mean, yeah, like, when has a revolution ever not been led by the bourgeoisie? I suppose we could look at the 20th century and understand the history of legal battles and emancipatory acts enacted in colonized land around the world, like former English, German, American colonies, who, through solidarity and a vested interest in themselves, managed to legally seize power and destroy fascist structures that they've internalized. But that's decided at a level where the intervention of a few highly interested and twisted folks can totally change people's perspective on the world. You know, not a lot of people around here have enough time to produce the works of Macmillan, so it continues. Strange paragraph. Hold on. My legs are getting sweaty. One sec. Darkness. Oh. Alright, that feels better. All right. Inversion of the praxis seems like a stretch, because we already understand that these like direct solutions, that these direct changes in society don't make any sense at all. So to simply invert praxis is, well, it's a bit of an offensive statement to a person like me, who's always this square peg being pushed through a circle hole. So I'm going to leave it at that. How is he doing it? How is he fucking doing it? I'm pissed. Sickos, man. Fucking sickos. Reality, which becomes oppressive, results in the contradistinction. Reality, which becomes oppressive, results in the contradistinction of men as oppressors and oppressed. The latter, whose task it is to struggle for their liberation together with those who show true solidarity, must acquire a critical awareness of oppression through the praxis of this struggle. One of the gravest obstacles to the achievement of liberation is that oppressive reality absorbs those within it and thereby acts to submerge human beings' consciousness. Functionally, oppression is domesticating. To no longer be prey to its force, one must emerge from it and turn upon it. This can be done only by means of the praxis, reflection and action upon the world in order to transform it. Hay que hacer opresión real todavía. Sorry, alright. Before we continue, my Spanish is bad. Okay, my mother didn't speak it near me because she didn't want me to struggle in school, basically. She was sending me to the white man's school. She didn't want me to struggle with Spanish. Hay que hacer la opresión real todavía más opresiva, añadiendo a aquella la conciencia de la presión, haciendo la infamia todavía más infamante al pregonarla. Making real oppression more oppressive still by adding to it the realization of oppression corresponds to the dialectical relation between the subjective and the objective. That's Sartre talks about this. Um, you know, and I think, and I do think that Freire uses the term anguish very intentionally. I'm aware of it. Once you know you must act, then you feel the responsibility of it all. I remember, like, being like 10 years old and nutting for the first time, feeling like grave anguish at the responsibility of knowing that through some circumstance of actions at some point I would have to, you know, choose whether or not to bring another life into this world. And it just, you know, the tension deepened, the lighting changed, the mood, the mood fell upon me. Keep watching the vitamin B12 video. It's fucking mesmerizing. Hello? Hello? Did I just DC? Okay. Only in this interdependence is an authentic praxis possible, without which it is impossible to resolve the oppressor-oppressed contradiction. Sorry, let's sit up. Oh man, my muscles are feeling strained. It's becoming uncomfortable, very difficult for me to breathe and whatnot. Oh. To achieve this goal, the oppressed must confront reality critically, simultaneously objectifying and acting upon that reality. A mere perception of reality not followed by this critical intervention will not lead to a transformation of objective reality. Precisely because it is not a true perception, cannot be objectively verified. In the courts, for example. This is the case of a purely subjectivist perception by someone who forsakes objective reality and creates a false substitute. A different type of false perception occurs when a change in objective reality would threaten the individual or class interests of the perceiver. Sorry, but like feeling it on my skin. Being assaulted, feel gravely threatened, and it is disrupting my life in an irreconcilable way. Or in an unreconciled way. That's what I meant to say. Even my dog left the room. Jesus. I feel like I'm in a fucking oxygen deprivation chamber. Oh. Oh. Fuck. Oh, man. Oh. Sorry, a lot of popping, a lot of tiny little bubbles. Where was I? Confront reality critically. Let's start again. Making real oppression more oppressive still by adding to it the realization of oppression corresponds to the dialectical relation between the subjective and the objective. Only in this interdependence is an authentic praxis possible, without which it is impossible to resolve the oppressor-oppressed contradiction. They front load the entrance, you know. They tell you that there's a high mental barrier to entry, and they say, you're gonna die now, you're gonna die now. Be prepared to feel dread. Be prepared to feel death. It's gonna hurt you. It's gonna suck. Yada yada yada. To achieve this goal, the oppressed must confront reality critically, simultaneously objectifying and acting upon that reality. Yeah, learning biology as an elementary schooler was harrowing, dude. I fainted. I chose my path in life. I chose computer science. And largely a part of that decision had to do with the fact that learning about the human body would make me faint. The way I combat the fainting now is by keeping my mind on like the categorical side of my head, by like just spewing out as many like anatomical and biological facts like internally, not like verbally, but like internally, so that I have like this like de-romanticized, this like de-fetishized idea of like what people mean when they describe like gore and shit like that to me. Yeah, no, I get it, and it changed my path in life. So, you know, it's like it's really important when you're trying to build a society that people are able to serve various functions of that society, without feeling this immense dread. Oh. Yawning. I'm yawning. Alright, I need to close this. This is social media and it's distracting. How did that get there? I think that's his wife, but at the same time, I think it's him because that makes sense for the format. Look at the dog paw. All right, sorry. That image is so funny to me. All right. Man, my wrist hurts now, and my wrist hurts now. Dang. And my wrist hurts now. Oh, my wrist stopped hurting. All right. Okay. No, for real. Just have to get in touch with myself. Oh, and I'm in so much pain. Why does it not end? To achieve this goal, the oppressed must confront reality critically, simultaneously objectifying and acting upon that reality. A mere perception of reality not followed by this critical intervention will not lead to a transformation of objective reality. Precisely because it is not a true perception. This is the case of a purely subjectivist perception by someone who forsakes objective reality and creates a false substitute. Now that's praxis. That's you know, if anyone wants to tell you that someone's bullshitting, you know, you can hit them with that. A different type of false perception occurs when a change in objective reality would threaten the individual or class interests of the perceiver. In the first instance, there is no critical intervention in reality because that reality is fictitious. There's none in the second instance because intervention would contradict the class interests of the perceiver. In the latter case, the tendency of the perceiver is to behave neurotically. The fact exists, but both the fact and what may result from it may be prejudicial to the person. Thus, it becomes necessary not precisely to deny the fact, but to see it differently. This rationalization as a defense mechanism coincides in the end with subjectivism. And seeing things differently is like a point of contention that many people will refuse from one another. In America, that's like a classic. That's like a "you're trying to control me" kind of moment. And they demonize this term, seeing things differently, because to see something differently must inherently change you. No, to recognize, to go from being one who recognizes to being one who hides from these facts will change you. But to be one who recognizes and to simply recognize more will not change you. So are you one who recognizes or one who hides from the truth, you know? Man, I you know, there's a lot to that I just don't understand. That it's very interesting to me. But to single out the phrase "see it differently" is it's poignant for me. And this rationalization is a defense mechanism coincides in the end with subjectivism, a fact which is not denied but whose truths are rationalized the fact which is not denied but whose truths are rationalized loses its objective base. It ceases to be concrete and becomes a myth created in defense of the class of the perceiver. Whoa, shit. What? So when you put your class interests ahead of your critical perception of a situation, you lose your rationality. And in this example, we're talking about one who acts neurotically, maybe in a position of authority, maybe like a teacher who like demands a lot of crap from the students or something. I don't know, like packets and packets or something. Maybe that type of person who's like, hey, remember this old thing that's like kind of racist? Well, what if we talked about it more? Because I found myself in that. You know, it's very. It's in the context of the academy, it goes deep, doesn't it?
I like it. I like it. I like what he writes because it puts words to these things that I get lost in emotionally in a confrontation between me and some rich asshole who wants to puppet something into my life or otherwise confront me. This is the kind of stuff that keeps me from killing myself, because that's the action. When you're out there arguing with people who have power over things that you care about, that's the fucking action. Jeffrey Epstein 100% killed himself. But, you know, this fact that people don't understand why is almost more frightening. Almost more isolating. Yeah, this is like the whole point of like putting words to things that you feel like you know is so that when words are demanded of you, you have words to deliver. So that when someone scrutinizes your point of view, you understand how to create like ideological footholds for you to deliver your subjective experience in a way that doesn't become clouded by these social forces that oppressors use against you. You know, it's sort of it's winning. It's a win in a way. But it's more like retaining yourself and your sanity during what can be a very fast conversation. You know, knowing what to say isn't enough. You need to know how to say it, you know, forwards, backwards, inside and out. And you need to know what it means, all of it, if you're going to have a serious discussion with an authority figure that relates to your fate. Because if you fail to secure your fate, you can be gravely psychologically wounded. And yeah, no, people have tried to kill me this way. It's like my first suicide attempt was something like that. But yeah, no, this shit gets serious. Of course, if you didn't know, I don't know how serious it could be, blah blah blah. Okay, but like that aside, like it come on. Like, you know I care. Like, right? Like, herein lies one of the reasons for the prohibitions and the difficulties to be discussed at length in Chapter 4, designed to dissuade the people from critical intervention in reality. The oppressor knows full well that this intervention would not be to his interest. What is to his interest is for the people to continue in a state of submersion, impotent in the face of oppressive reality. Of relevance, here is Lukács' warning to the Revolutionary Party. Oh, don't even try, bro. Like, come, what the hell? French is not a real language. Il doit pas employer les mots des Marx. Dude, come on. This isn't fair. Proletariat. This is proletariat. In affirming this necessity, Lukács is unquestionably posing the problem of critical intervention. To explain to the masses their own action is to clarify and illuminate that action, both regarding its relationship to the objective facts by which it was prompted, and regarding its purpose. The more the people unveil this challenging reality, which is to be the object of their transforming action, the more critically they enter that reality. In this way, they are consciously activating the subsequent development of their experiences. Reality, experience. There would be no human action if there were no objective reality. No world to be the not I of the person and to challenge them, just as there would be no human action if humankind were not a project, if he or she were not able to transcend himself or herself, if one were not able to perceive reality and understand it in order to transform it. Just like Joseph Joestar. Damn. That's kind of cool. Just like Joseph Joestar. Alright, I go to post and then I get lost and I like stop looking at things I need to look at. Okay, alright, anyways. The action becomes totalizing in and of itself. The revolutionary action becomes totalizing in and of itself. And it is to resist this totalizing effect that is the goal of these revolutionaries, these anti-statists. So I guess in that sense, like an inversion of praxis is quite common. But I see something like that and it's so offensive to me. After you say something else like that to me, isn't that a reduction? Don't write that. Don't write that. What the fuck? Alright, anyways. You gotta season it, you know? Season it with some hot language. There's so many words in these languages to season your passages with. Season the passages differently. Stop with the stupid names. Okay, we're in the midst of it. We're in the midst of it. I know I fucked around for so long, but I feel like there's so much to dwell on that I'm willing to just end the stream here. I need to cook dinner and clean up and stuff. But I feel like there was a lot. I feel like there was a lot we discussed. Next time will be a much denser video. Next time it'll be a much denser video, but for now, I think this is a fine place to just pause. And if you liked it, thank you.